The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council's headquarters cast prismatic shadows across Ambassador Thax's silvery skin as he prepared for the most significant mission of his 300-year career. His species, the Lumini, had conducted first contact with dozens of civilizations, but something about this assignment made his photoreceptors pulse with unusual intensity. The humans are different, Supreme Counselor Ven had said, their bioluminescent patterns flickering with concern. Our preliminary observations suggest they defy conventional evolution. They thrive in environments that should be lethal. They seek out danger rather than avoid it. They feel emotions with an intensity that would shatter most species' psyche. Now, as Thax's ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, those words echoed in his consciousness. The Lumini were empaths of the highest order, able to sense and process the emotional states of other beings. This gift had made them the galaxy's premier diplomats. But as his vessel pierced the cloud layer above New Delhi, Thax experienced something entirely new, a tsunami of emotional energy that nearly overloaded his neural pathways. The landing site was a sprawling spaceport on the outskirts of the city, where thousands of humans had gathered to witness humanity's first official contact with extraterrestrial life. Their collective excitement, fear, joy, and anxiety crashed against Thax's psyche like waves against a shore. He had to activate his emotional dampeners, something he hadn't done since his youth. As the ship's ramp descended, Thax emerged into the hot Indian summer. His environmental suit adjusted immediately, but nothing could shield him from the raw intensity of human emotions at close range. At the bottom of the ramp stood his primary contact, Director Priya Sharma of the United Earth Space Initiative, flanked by her security team. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Thax," Director Sharma said, her voice steady despite the maelstrom of emotions Thax could sense within her. "We hope your journey was comfortable." Thax raised his upper appendages in the traditional Lumini greeting. "Your hospitality honors me, Director Sharma. Though I must admit, your species' emotional resonance is remarkable." A smile curved Director Sharma's lips. "Remarkable? That's a diplomatic way of putting it. We're an intense bunch, aren't we?" Before Thax could respond, a commotion erupted in the crowd. A young human had broken through the security cordon and was running toward them. Security personnel moved to intercept, but the child was quick. Thax's species had evolved to avoid sudden movements and conflict, but something in the child's emotional signature made him raise a hand to halt the security team. The boy stopped a few meters away, his eyes wide with wonder. "Are you really from the stars?" he asked, his voice trembling with excitement and fear. The pure, uncomplicated awe emanating from the child was like a clear note in a chaotic symphony. Thax knelt down, bringing himself to the boy's eye level. "Yes, young one. I come from a world that orbits a star you can see on clear nights." The security team was poised to remove the child, but Director Sharma held them back, watching the interaction with keen interest. "That's so cool," the boy exclaimed. "Do you have games in space? Do you play? Do you have fun?" Each question carried a burst of genuine curiosity that made Thax's photoreceptors flutter. The concepts of games and fun were largely foreign to his species. Efficiency and safety were the cornerstones of Lumini culture. But here was this small human, radiating pure joy at the prospect of play. "We have different ways of passing time," Thax answered carefully. "Perhaps we could learn from each other." The boy's father finally caught up, apologizing profusely as he led his son away. But the encounter had shifted something in Thax's understanding. The human's emotional intensity wasn't just a characteristic, it was the source of their resilience, their creativity, their drive to explore and discover. As the formal welcoming ceremony proceeded, Thax found himself increasingly fascinated by the contradictions before him. These humans had created precise, sophisticated spacecraft, yet they cheered and wept openly at his arrival. They maintained complex social hierarchies while allowing spontaneous displays of emotion. They were somehow both disciplined and chaotic, regulated and free. Later that evening, in his specially prepared quarters at the UESI headquarters, Thax composed his first report to the Galactic Council. The humans, he wrote, represent something unprecedented in our understanding of sentient life. Their emotional capacity, far from being a weakness, appears to be the cornerstone of their advancement. They do not merely survive, they live with an intensity that defies conventional wisdom. As he prepared to send the report, a distant rumble of thunder caught his attention. Through his window, he watched humans below running for shelter from the approaching storm, laughing as the rain began to fall. Some young ones jumped in forming puddles, their joy radiating upward like a beacon. Thax added a final line to his report: "I suspect that understanding humanity will require us to question everything we believe about the nature of intelligence, evolution, and progress. This mission may change not only them but us as well." He had no idea how prophetic those words would prove to be. 3 weeks into his Earth mission, Ambassador Thax found himself aboard the UES Intrepid, humanity's most advanced starship. The vessel's captain, Reena Patel, was explaining their combat training procedures, a concept that made Thax's bioluminescent patterns flutter with discomfort. "You deliberately simulate dangerous situations?" he asked, watching through an observation window as crew members engaged in what they called tactical exercises. Captain Patel nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the flashing lights of the training arena below. "We train for the worst while hoping for the best, Ambassador. The universe isn't always kind, and we've learned that preparation often means the difference between survival and extinction." Thax absorbed the swirling emotions emanating from the training deck: determination, competitive spirit, camaraderie, and something else he was starting to recognize in humans: excitement. "In my culture," he said, "we believe that avoiding conflict is the highest form of intelligence. Yet your species seems to embrace it." A small smile crossed Patel's face as she watched her crew. "We don't embrace conflict, Ambassador. We embrace challenge. There's a difference." She turned to face him, her emotional signature radiating a complex mixture of pride and responsibility. "Would you like to understand why?" Before Thax could formulate a diplomatic decline, Captain Patel was leading him to a different section of the ship. They entered what she called the hydroponics bay, a vast chamber filled with growing plants. The contrast between this peaceful garden and the combat training deck was stark. "Look at this tomato plant," Patel said, gently touching a green vine heavy with red fruits. "We deliberately stress it with slightly too little water, slightly too much heat. Do you know why?" Thax's photoreceptors adjusted to the bright growing lights. "To harm it? To strengthen it. Plants that face moderate stress develop stronger roots, become more resistant to disease, produce better fruits. We discovered this principle in nature, Ambassador. Life doesn't just survive adversity, it grows stronger because of it." The concept sent ripples through Thax's understanding. His species had spent millennia creating perfect, stable environments, eliminating all sources of stress and conflict. Yet here were humans, deliberately introducing controlled adversity to promote growth. Their conversation was interrupted by a ship-wide alert. Captain Patel's demeanor changed instantly, her emotional signature shifting to focused intensity. "Bridge," she commanded, and Thax found himself following her through the ship's corridors. A solar flare had damaged a civilian research vessel near Jupiter. The Intrepid was the closest ship capable of attempting a rescue. As Thax watched, Captain Patel and her crew transformed from training warriors into precision rescuers. The emotions he sensed were overwhelming: determination, concern, controlled fear, and unwavering focus. The rescue operation was unlike anything in Thax's experience. The humans willingly piloted their ship into the radiation wave's path, using the Intrepid's shields to protect the stricken vessel. When mechanical failure threatened the rescue, crew members donned protective suits and manually assisted the civilian ship's evacuation. Through it all, Captain Patel remained calm, coordinating the effort with the same precision she'd shown in combat training. Thax observed how her emotional control steadied her crew, creating a resonance of focused energy that sustained them through the crisis. Hours later, with the civilians safe aboard and the Intrepid headed back to Earth, Thax found Patel in the ship's observation lounge. She was watching Jupiter's swirling storms, her emotional signature a complex tapestry of relief, exhaustion, and quiet satisfaction. "Your crew risked their lives today," Thax said, settling beside her. "The radiation levels were extremely dangerous." "They were," she agreed. "But the risk was calculated, the danger understood and prepared for. Remember the tomato plant, Ambassador? Strength through adversity. But this was more than just training. I felt their emotions, they were afraid, yet they proceeded anyway." "Why?" Patel turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "Because something more important than fear drove them. Call it duty, compassion, the unwillingness to stand by while others suffer. These aren't just abstract principles for us, they're part of what makes us human." Thax's neural pathways tingled as new understanding emerged. "You train for combat not because you seek violence, but because you refuse to be helpless in the face of danger. You embrace challenge not for its own sake, but because it prepares you to help others." "Now you're getting it," Patel smiled. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our fighting prowess. It's our ability to face our fears, to push through them for something greater than ourselves." Later, in his quarters, Thax added to his ongoing report to the Galactic Council. "The humans' relationship with adversity defies our traditional understanding. They have learned to use stress and challenge as tools for growth, both physically and psychologically. Their warrior nature, which we initially viewed with concern, appears inseparable from their capacity for sacrifice and service to others." He paused, his photoreceptors pulsing as he considered the day's events. "Perhaps, in our quest to create perfect harmony, we Lumini have denied ourselves the growth that comes from facing and overcoming challenges. The human's way is dangerous, yes, but it also creates a depth of character and capability that our approach has never achieved." As the Intrepid cruised through space, Thax felt the collective emotions of its crew, their pride in the day's rescue, their bond with each other, their readiness to face whatever challenges awaited them. For the first time in his long life, he wondered if his species' pursuit of perfect safety had come at too high a cost. The emergency alert shattered the pre-dawn quiet of UESI headquarters. Ambassador Thax emerged from his meditation chamber to find the normally orderly facility transformed into a hub of controlled chaos. Director Sharma's voice echoed through the building's communication system, "All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill." Within minutes, Thax learned the cause: a massive asteroid, previously hidden behind Jupiter, was on a collision course with Earth. The planetary defense systems had detected it less than an hour ago, leaving barely 48 hours until impact. The projected strike zone, the heart of the Pacific Ocean, threatening coastal populations worldwide. In the Central Command Center, Thax watched humanity spring into action. Director Sharma and Captain Patel coordinated with leaders worldwide, their emotions a tempest of determination and focused fear. What struck him most was the complete absence of panic or resignation, emotions his own species would certainly feel in the face of such catastrophe. "Our orbital defense platforms can't handle something this size," Captain Patel reported, her voice tight but controlled. "We need a different approach." "What about the experimental plasma drills?" A young engineer named Raj Varma stepped forward, his emotional signature blazing with inspiration. "If we modify them for space deployment, we might be able to fracture the asteroid into manageable pieces." "The drills aren't tested for vacuum operations," another scientist objected. "We'd be gambling with Earth's survival." "We're already gambling," Director Sharma cut in. "Raj, how quickly can you modify the drills?" "With a full team? 36 hours. Maybe. You have 24. Thax observed as humans worldwide mobilized. Coastal evacuations began immediately, even as engineering teams worked frantically to adapt the plasma drills. The Lumini ambassador found himself drawn into their efforts, his species' advanced understanding of plasma dynamics proving unexpectedly valuable. Working alongside Raj and his team, Thax experienced something entirely new, the electric thrill of racing against time, the wild hope of attempting the impossible. His emotional dampeners struggled to process the intensity of human feelings surrounding him, but for the first time, he chose to embrace rather than filter them. This modification has a 47.3% chance of failure, he noted as they worked on the drill's containment field. Raj didn't look up from his calculations. Then we'll focus on making the other 52.7% count. 22 hours later, the modified drills were loaded aboard 3 ships, including the Intrepid. Captain Patel would lead the mission, while Raj and his team would operate the drills remotely. To everyone's surprise, Thax requested to remain in the command center rather than retreat to the safety of his orbital vessel. Ambassador, Director Sharma said privately, if this fails, the tsunamis will reach this facility. I understand, he replied, his bioluminescence pulsing steadily. But I need to witness this. My people need to understand. The next 20 hours tested everything Thax thought he knew about sentient behavior. He watched humans push past exhaustion, finding strength in their connection to each other. He felt their fear, yes, but also their stubborn refusal to accept defeat. When the first drill malfunctioned, they adapted. When communication systems struggled, they innovated. The asteroid filled the command center's main screen, a dark mass of certain destruction. The Intrepid and her sister ships moved into position, their modified drills powering up. Thax felt the collective held breath of every human in the room. Remember, Captain Patel's voice came through clearly, we don't need to vaporize it. Just break it up enough for the defense platforms to handle the pieces. The drills engaged, their plasma beams striking the asteroid's surface. For a terrible moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then fissures began to appear, spreading like cracks in glass. The asteroid's surface started to fragment, pieces spinning away into space. But it wasn't breaking fast enough. The core remained intact, still on course for Earth. Systems were redlining, the drills operating far beyond their designed capacity. In the command center, Raja's hands flew over his controls, pushing the equipment to its absolute limits. The containment fields are failing, he reported, his voice strained. We need more power. That's when Captain Patel made her decision. The Intrepid moved closer, using its own shields to reinforce the drill's containment field. It was a dangerous gamble, if the drill exploded, the ship would be destroyed. Patel, fall back. Director Sharma ordered. That's too close. No time, came the captain's steady reply. Raj, divert everything we've got to the drill. Everything. Thax felt the surge of emotions in the command center, fear, hope, desperate prayer. The drill's plasma beam intensified, boring deeper into the asteroid's core. Warning systems screamed as the Intrepid's shields began to fail. Then, with a silent flash that lit up Earth's sensors, the asteroid's core split. The remaining fragments, now significantly smaller, spread out along varying trajectories. Earth's defense platforms locked on, systematically destroying any pieces still on a collision course. The command center erupted in cheers and tears. Thax stood immobile, overwhelmed by the wave of relief and joy washing over him. He watched humans embrace each other, their emotional signatures merging into a brilliant tapestry of shared triumph and gratitude. In the aftermath, as the cleanup began and the world slowly exhaled, Thax found himself in the facility's garden. Director Sharma joined him there, both of them watching the sunset through windows that, hours ago, might have been humanity's last view of their star. Your species continues to defy explanation, Thax said quietly. By all logical standards, you should have failed. The technology was untested, the odds against success. Logic doesn't account for everything, Ambassador, Sharma replied. Sometimes the impossible becomes possible simply because we refuse to accept anything less. Thax's report to the Galactic Council that evening was brief. I no longer believe we can evaluate humanity by our traditional standards. Their greatest strength lies not in their technology or their intelligence, but in their unique ability to transform crisis into opportunity, fear into determination, and individual limitations into collective achievement. They do not merely survive, they transcend. The message that changed everything arrived 6 months into Thax's Earth mission. He was observing a zero-gravity construction project and his quantum communicator pulsed with an urgent priority signal from the Galactic Council. The Vorax, a newly discovered species from the galaxy's outer rim, had attacked 3 peaceful worlds without warning. More disturbing was their method. They consumed all organic matter on conquered planets, leaving nothing but barren rock behind. The Council's response had been typically measured: attempts at communication, diplomatic outreach, peaceful resolution. The Vorax had responded by devouring another world. Now their fleet was moving through civilized space, and long-range sensors indicated they were heading toward Earth. The Council's message was clear: Earth needed to be evacuated immediately. Humanity, as a non-Council species, would be offered sanctuary on designated refuge worlds. Director Sharma's response to this news was not what Thax expected. She laughed. Evacuate Earth? All 7 billion of us? She shook her head, her emotional signature radiating a mixture of amusement and determination. That's not going to happen, Ambassador. We'll fight. The Vorax fleet includes over 300 capital ships, Thax protested. Their technology far exceeds Earth's defensive capabilities. Fighting would be. He searched for a diplomatic word: inadvisable. Captain Patel, who had joined the emergency meeting, leaned forward. Tell us everything you know about their ships, their tactics, their weaknesses. Captain, the Council's position is clear. We cannot provide military intelligence about one species to another. It would violate our most sacred principles of neutrality. The emotions that flooded the room, frustration, anger, resolve, made Thax's photoreceptors flutter. But underneath these expected reactions, he sensed something else: determination, creativity, and a strange sort of excitement. Over the next few days, Thax watched as humanity prepared for war. But not in the way he expected. Instead of mass panic or military posturing, he witnessed something extraordinary. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists worldwide collaborated with unprecedented unity. They analyzed the limited public data about the Vorax, developed theories, and designed countermeasures. Raja's team worked on adapting the plasma drills into weapons. Others developed new shield configurations, communication systems, and battle strategies. The humans weren't just preparing to fight, they were innovating, creating, thinking in ways that defied conventional military doctrine. You cannot win this war, Thax told Director Sharma one evening, his concern genuine. The Vorax have never been defeated. That's because they've never met humans before, she replied, showing him a simulation of their latest defense plan. We're not just fighting for survival, Ambassador. We're fighting for our home. The next week brought a decision point Thax had never anticipated. During a routine communication with his ship's AI, he discovered something startling: a detailed analysis of Vorax ship architecture, collected during first contact but classified by the Council. The data revealed a critical weakness in their organic tech hybrid vessels. Thax knew sharing this information would violate everything his species believed in. The Lumini had maintained galactic peace for millennia by remaining strictly neutral in conflicts. Breaking that neutrality could change the balance of power forever. But as he watched humans prepare to face near-certain extinction, he felt something new: doubt in his species' wisdom. The Lumini's perfect neutrality had allowed the Vorax to consume 4 worlds already. How many more would fall while the Council sought peaceful resolution with an enemy that only knew hunger? His decision crystallized during a visit to a children's hospital. The young patients there, despite their illnesses, were drawing pictures of Earth's defense fleet, telling stories of victory against the space monsters. Their hope, their unshakable belief in their species' ability to overcome any challenge, struck something deep in Thax's consciousness. That evening, he called a private meeting with Director Sharma and Captain Patel. His photoreceptors pulsed with uncharacteristic intensity as he spoke. "What I am about to share will likely end my diplomatic career," he began. "But I have learned something from humans these past months. Sometimes principles must yield to a greater moral imperative." He transferred the Vorax data to their systems, his hands shaking slightly. "Their ships are partially organic, with neural pathways that can be overloaded by specific energy frequencies. A properly modulated plasma beam, striking their command nodes." He paused, realizing he was about to provide information that could lead to the death of thousands of sentient beings. Captain Patel reached out and touched his arm, the first human to do so. "We understand the cost of what you're doing, Ambassador. Both to you and to them. But you're saving billions of lives." The next few weeks were a blur of preparation. Thax found himself deeply involved in humanity's defense plans, his understanding of Vorax biology proving invaluable. The humans adapted the plasma drill technology with frightening speed, creating weapons specifically designed to target Vorax vulnerabilities. As the enemy fleet approached, Thax sent his final official report to the Galactic Council. "I must recuse myself from diplomatic service," he wrote. "I can no longer maintain neutrality in the face of imminent genocide. The humans have taught me that true morality sometimes requires us to take sides." He ended with words that would shake the foundations of Lamini philosophy: "There comes a point where refusing to act against evil becomes evil itself." Humanity, with all its chaos and complexity, understands this fundamental truth better than our ancient civilization ever has. As Earth's combined fleet moved into position to meet the Vorax threat, Thax chose to remain on the planet he had come to understand. Whatever happened next, he would face it alongside these remarkable beings who had taught him that sometimes the greatest wisdom lies in knowing when to break the rules. The battle for Earth began in the dark space beyond Mars' orbit. 300 Vorax ships against Earth's hastily assembled fleet of 80 vessels. On paper, it was no contest. But humanity had never been good at accepting odds on paper. From his position in UESI headquarters, Thax watched the battle unfold alongside Director Sharma. His emotional dampeners were completely overwhelmed by the intensity of human feelings surrounding him: fear, determination, and a fierce sort of joy that he was only beginning to understand. The Intrepid led the first strike, Captain Patel commanding a squadron of ships equipped with the modified plasma weapons. The Vorax, confident in their superior numbers and technology, advanced in their usual consumption formation. They had never needed to adapt their tactics before. They had never faced humans before. "Remember," Patel's voice came through clear on the command channel, "aim for their neural nodes. Hit and scatter. Don't let them adapt to our attack pattern." The battle that followed defied every military doctrine in the Galactic Council's archives. Earth's ships moved in seemingly chaotic patterns, their formations shifting constantly. The modified plasma weapons struck with surgical precision, targeting the biological weaknesses Thax had revealed. When the Vorax adjusted their shields, humanity adjusted faster. But the enemy's numbers began to tell. Earth's ships, though effective, were being destroyed one by one. The Vorax pressed their advantage, pushing closer to the planet. That's when humanity revealed their second innovation. "Activate the orbital defense grid," Director Sharma commanded. The network of satellites that had helped save Earth from the asteroid now powered up with newly installed plasma weaponry. Caught between the fleet and the orbital grid, the Vorax fleet's advance faltered for the first time in their history. Still, it wasn't enough. The Vorax began to adapt, their organic ships developing resistance to the plasma frequencies. Earth's casualties mounted. The defense grid began to fail under concentrated fire. That's when Raja's voice cut through the chaos. "Permission to deploy the resonance device?" Director Sharma's emotional signature flared with concern. "It's untested. Everything's untested until someone tests it, Raj replied, his voice carrying that peculiarly human mix of fear and excitement that Thax had come to recognize. The device was humanity's final gambit, a massive electromagnetic pulse tuned specifically to the Vorax ship's neural frequencies. The risk was enormous. If it failed, it would drain power from Earth's defenses. If it worked, no one was quite sure what would happen. "Do it," Sharma ordered. The pulse rippled through space, invisible but powerful. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the Vorax ships began to spasm. Their organic components, overloaded by the resonance pulse, turned against their mechanical parts. Ships began to break apart, their hybrid technology tearing itself to pieces. The Vorax fleet, for the first time in their history, retreated. The celebration that followed was unlike anything Thax had ever experienced. Humans wept, laughed, and embraced each other, their emotions creating a tapestry of joy so intense it made his photoreceptors overload. But amid the celebration, they immediately began preparing for the next battle, knowing the Vorax would return. They never got the chance. The news that humanity had defeated the unstoppable Vorax spread through the galaxy at quantum speed. The Galactic Council, shaken by the implications, called an emergency session. Thax was summoned to testify. Standing before his peers in the Great Crystal Chamber, Thax did something unprecedented. He completely dropped his emotional dampeners. The council members recoiled as they felt the full intensity of his experiences on Earth. "We have been wrong," he declared, his bioluminescence pulsing with conviction. "Our pursuit of perfect harmony and neutrality has allowed evil to flourish. The humans understand something we have forgotten, that life isn't about avoiding conflict, but about choosing the right conflicts to engage in." The debate that followed lasted weeks. But the evidence was undeniable. Humanity had done what the Council's most advanced civilizations could not. They had defeated the Vorax not through superior technology or numbers, but through their unique combination of innovation, adaptability, and sheer determination. 1 year after the battle, Earth was offered full membership in the Galactic Council, the fastest admission in history. But humanity's influence had already begun to transform galactic society. Other species started to experiment with controlled adversity in their education systems. The concept of necessary conflict entered Council doctrine. The age of pure neutrality was over. Thax, stripped of his diplomatic status for violating neutrality, was given a new title, Cultural Integration Specialist. His job was to help bridge the growing gap between traditional galactic civilization and the new hybrid culture emerging in humanity's wake. On the anniversary of the battle, he stood with Director Sharma and Captain Patel in the New Earth Embassy, watching ships from 100 worlds dock at the orbital station above. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Sharma asked him. Thax's photoreceptors pulsed with amusement. "I came to Earth expecting to teach humanity how to join galactic civilization. Instead, you taught us how to live again." "That's what humans do," Captain Patel smiled. "We change things. Sometimes by breaking them first." "Yes," Thax agreed, feeling the complex swirl of emotions around him without dampening them at all. "And the galaxy is stronger for it." Later that night, in his private quarters, Thax received a message from the Lumini High Council. They were requesting his input on a radical proposal, introducing controlled challenges into their children's development program. The message ended with a quote from his original Earth reports: "Sometimes the greatest wisdom lies in knowing when to change." Looking out at the Earth glowing below, Thax felt a very human emotion, hope. The galaxy was evolving, becoming something new and unexpected. And it had all started because one species refused to accept the impossible. The humans had a saying he had come to love: "The only constant is change." As he watched ships from across the galaxy dancing in orbit around Earth, Thax realized that humanity's greatest gift to the universe wasn't their technology or their tactical brilliance. It was their fundamental understanding that true strength comes not from avoiding challenges, but from embracing them, learning from them, and growing beyond them. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what it needed.